When a group of teenage hackers started to infiltrate Microsoft and its Xbox video game division, it may have been a challenge and a thrill, but it didn't end so innocently.
Members of the group were accused of stealing massive amounts of intellectual property, and they faced federal prosecution. The story, The Young and the Reckless, is detailed in Wired magazine this week and available on newsstands this Tuesday. And we're joined by its author, writer and Wired contributing editor, Brendan Koerner. Brendan, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
First of all, can I say that is a really cool cover of the magazine behind you there. What attracted you to this story specifically?
The first thing was the scale of what was stolen, talking about $200 million worth of intellectual property at a low-end estimate. Secondly, the audacity of the hackers was incredible to me. The fact they didn't just hack into companies, they actually organized a physical break-in and burglary at Microsoft headquarters to steal an Xbox prototype. They counterfeited their own Xbox prototype console. Wow. They really got stuck into this enterprise.
The main character that you talk about in this is David Koerner. Can you take us a little bit through that journey, going from, as I mentioned, you're gaming and you're enjoying it, to then all of a sudden something that's illegal?
Well, he's someone who's a born programmer. At the age of 2, he was playing first-person shooters on his parents' PC. At the age of 13, he was writing tools so you could actually alter the physics of Xbox games. Wildly gifted, but I think that his curiosity and drive for more and more challenge drove him to some pretty dark places and take some pretty huge risks.
You write that he wasn't really motivated by money. You say that what he most coveted was the sense of glee and power from making $60 million games behave however he wished.
That's exactly right. So they did make some money in this enterprise, but it wasn't their top priority. They left hundreds of thousands of credit card numbers on the table. They stole documents that would have been worth millions of dollars to foreign governments or rivals of Microsoft. They didn't use those to sell them. They built prototypes in their bedrooms instead. For them, it was this thrill, this buzz, this kick of being in their bedrooms and knowing that this gang of teenagers really was running circles around these multi-billion-dollar companies.
It really came through in the article that way when you talked about them and that intellectual curiosity that you talked about. Is there a way, though, to use this for good, let's say, instead of what they were doing?
So one thing that came across to me several times in talking to these hackers was the fact that in school they didn't feel challenged. That if they were fortunate enough to be in a school that had computer science classes, they were way more advanced than their teachers. There's no after school, there's no equivalent of, say, elite athletics for these kids. So I think it's actually an opportunity for industry and the government to develop organizations and programs to spot this talent, give them outlets, give them challenges to tackle, and then recruit these kids into their businesses and into their organizations.
David Koerner was in his early 20s when he was arrested. I mean, did they have, when they were in the middle of this, did they sense at all that they might be putting themselves in legal danger?
No, they really did. They talked among themselves all the time about the fact the FBI was onto them. They were reading emails from companies talking to the FBI saying that someone's inside our networks. We need to investigate this.
And they weren't scared by this?
To them, it was a game until things went horribly awry for a lot of them, unfortunately.
It's nothing new that they had this capability. We talk about hacker conventions that go on, but it seems a little unique that you had this group that was so organized behind it. How unique is that?
It's not really that unique. I think that when people who live all over the world find each other online and finally have common interests that they don't share with people in their local communities, they forge a kind of emotional attachment and bond. These people had a real friendship with each other, but ultimately they also betrayed each other.
I was just to say, they sold each other out as well.
Yeah, they did.
Should we be scared, Brendan, that a group of teenagers could do this? I mean, there's so many concerns about cybersecurity now. Here's another one.
Sure. On some level, we should be, and it's a problem with network security. Not just the fact that networks are too porous and there's too many flaws and vulnerabilities, but the fact that once they're inside the networks, we don't kick them out. In this situation, you had these teenage hackers get inside these networks. The FBI was aware, and they still stayed in there for months at a time. So access wasn't denied. So we need to change our philosophy about security and make sure we do hygiene. Accepting people will get inside, we need to kick them out.
Yeah, it was fascinating when they were reading the emails that the FBI was aware that they were there. Brendan Koerner, thank you. A great article, a great read.